Yo, what's good? It's your man 100 Grand Ross with The Rock Never Stops. Yo, the Detroit Pistons last night went toe-to-toe with the Los Angeles Clippers. And I want to dive into that in this video. If you enjoy it, smash the like button for me as always. Hit subscribe and the bell for notifications. Definitely appreciate all the love and support. Let me just start off with saying, I told y'all, Troy Weaver knows what he's doing. And the more front office people get out of his way and allow the man to work, the more we let Monty Williams continue to grow into understanding and knowing his team, the more we adjust our expectations for this roster, the more we're going to like what we're seeing. The more we're going to see a plan come to fruition. And that's what we've been seeing. Troy Weaver said at the beginning of the season, we still don't know what we've got yet. So I don't want to make any major moves until we see what this young roster is and who we're going to be building around. Then all of y'all got all shook up when they went on this losing streak, not realizing that this team was never expected to win a lot of games in the first place. And some of y'all say, well, it should have at least won, fill it in. Y'all do realize that what y'all were talking about was probably a 3 to 5 game difference. And that's what you were judging your assessment of Troy Weaver, Monty Williams, and such. And so I had to consistently correct fans and be like, hey, this is a rebuilding year. Trying to figure out what you mean or trying to figure out what you have as a team is another way of saying we're not tanking because we're not trying to lose. But we are invested in young guys who don't know how to win yet. So you're not trying to lose, but you don't know how to win, which means you're going to lose a lot. It's just not intentional. All that is to say is that Monty Williams made it clear the type of coach he was going to be. Now, look, I liked the other coach, Ivy. I liked some of the other options that they had. I thought there was more developmental coaches that could have been better for this team. But I will give you this about Monty Williams. He's made adjustments. He's made concessions. He has consistently tinkered with his strategies to figure this team out, to figure out how to get the most out of it. And we've seen the benefits of that. Say what you want. You could say Jaden Ivey should have been playing more earlier. And Look, he's playing well. Yes, I hold him accountable when he's dribbling the ball off his foot and turning into a black hole and turning the ball over. Yes, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to acknowledge what you see. You're supposed to be honest about what you see. It doesn't negate his talent. It doesn't negate what everybody wanted to see him evolve into, which I believe he is in front of our very eyes. He's becoming a real elite talent in the NBA. We begin to recognize and see the differences between him and Benedict Mathurin. Ivy simply has a higher ceiling. He's not as polished as a Mathurin, but he has a higher ceiling. You can't teach speed. You can't teach some of these physical tools. And we're hoping that he puts it together, and he is. The previous game before this last one, I pointed out, he's gone back into some bad habits. And he had. He had gone back into some really bad habits, becoming a black hole, not seeing his teammates, not reading the floor, over-penetrating, getting stuck in traps, dribbling the ball off his foot at the worst time, not seeing the teammate who does have it going in Marcus Sasser, which I thought was real egregious. But if we remember that, Jaden Ivey's not a point guard. He's not a floor general. He's a scorer. So I had to readjust my expectations a little bit. But my main thing was I want to see him continue to grow. I want to see him continue to evolve as a player. Then we see Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham has been struggling since he came back from his injury. I don't know if he's 100% yet. He's probably still working himself back into his rhythm, which it looks like he's that type of a player. He's definitely a rhythm player. And when he has injuries, it throws him off and it takes him a while to get himself back going. And so I expect after the All-Star break, that's when we will see Cade Cunningham look like early season Cade Cunningham, where he was dropping 20 to 30 points every game, and it just looked effortless. He's getting to his spots. He's getting his body bumps. He's getting to that free throw line. He's doing the things that we know that he can do. But all that's to say is that in this game, you saw a lot of components come together. Against the Clippers, you saw Jaden Duren. You saw Jalen Duren really begin to impose himself. You begin to see that man strength, that footwork, that touch, that kind of natural instinct and inclination for the rim, for the basket. His ability to get on the boards. He's a monster of a rebounder. I know people try to compare him to a Dwight Howard. Get that out of your... They are very different players. Duren is far more of an offensive-minded player who just happens to rebound at a high level. Dwight Howard was a high-level defensive player who rebounded at a high level. Outside of the rebounding, that's about where it ends. And their physical height and arm length reach type stuff. But that's it. Dwight was a far better athlete, just a freak of an athlete. Jalen Duren is not that. But he still was able to impose his will. And you begin to see his development. You can begin to see long-term, he's going to be somebody that you can kind of build an offensive hub around. And we saw Asar Thompson. Outside of those early game jitters, being in a starting lineup against a contending team. A contending team, not a good team, not a playoff team, a contending team. He had a little bit of jitters, Asar Thompson. But you still saw the flashes of greatness. He's the type of defensive player you can build a defense around. His ability to bother Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, James Harden. He was beginning to be the type of guy that, as he has learned and developed under Monty Williams and was being held accountable, just like Jaden Ivey was, that he began to figure some things out, how to maintain his distance, how to not get caught too close and pick up silly fouls. Don't get caught up in arguing with the refs. Stay focused, stay locked in, next play mindset. And he began to have some defensive plays that were absolutely special. You don't really ever see somebody rip the ball out of Kawhi Leonard's hands. Move their feet so well they can stay in front of him and then make a play on the ball and rip it out of Kawhi's hands. Bothering Paul George so much, you could see it began to get to him. It was getting to him. He was getting in Paul George. Paul George still had a monster game because he's an all-time great player. He's a top 75 Hall of Fame first ballot player. And yet Asar Thompson as a rookie was able to get into his head, showing flashes. Marcus Sasser looks like that spark plug. You could tell they respected, the Los Angeles Clippers respected Marcus Sasser from the beginning of the game, the moment he got into the game. They put a bigger defender on him. They played him close, belly to belly, tried to get physical with him, tried to get him out of his rhythm. But you notice them University of Houston boys, they don't get rattled easy. And he didn't get rattled. He had a couple plays, a couple turnovers, but the Clippers played great defense. It was going to happen. But he was still able to get to his spots. And that's what you want to see from young players, that they're learning and growing and evolving and beginning to understand their game and how to apply their talent despite what the defense is doing. Even if you get me once, okay, I can read it, I can understand, I can see what you're doing, and I'll make my adjustment. And that's what you saw throughout this game. They built that lead based on playing a style that suited them, one. Two, they built that lead based on consistent effort of defense and intensity. That's two. And three, they built that lead because they're one hell of a talented team. That core of Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, Asar Thompson, Marcus Sasser is a hell of a core. That is a hell of a lineup of talent. Yes, they're still figuring out how to win. They're still figuring out how to apply their skills and abilities and talents in order to beat the best teams, how to maintain a lead, how to close out games. But that's going to come with time. You don't get that in season 1, season 2, season 3. You get that in season 4, 5, 6. How to close out games against contenders. But the talent there was undeniable. And what Monty Williams is going to have to continue to do is build this chemistry and an understanding of what they want to do down the stretches of games. What they want guys to go to. Not the full bag. You don't go to the full bag down the stretch of a game against a great team. You go to your bread and butter. You go to your pick and roll with Jalen Duren. Or you post him up. You look for the switches, the ISO opportunities to draw an extra defender and kick and put the defense in rotation. And get those secondary, tertiary actions involved. You make those extra plays getting on the offensive glass. You pick up the defensive intensity and get out in transition. Did y'all see that moment when Cade Cunningham was leading the break with Jaden Ivey and Asar Thompson on the break? That shit was scary. The Detroit Pistons are coming. They're figuring it out. And despite dropping this game to the Clippers, look, they did what they were supposed to do. They kicked in the champion pedigree. Kawhi Leonard started to go off. Paul George started to go off. Russell Westbrook hit some timely shots. Why he's a Hall of Famer. And they lost the game. But it wasn't because they didn't show up. It wasn't because they were shooting themselves in the foot. It wasn't because Monty Williams didn't know what he was doing or the team was unorganized. They just hadn't been there before. These are growing pains. This is where the team is supposed to be. And if you have the accurate expectations, you can sit back and you can applaud Troy Weaver. I told y'all that Fontecchio was exactly who they needed. A younger version of Bojan Bogdanovic. Elite sharpshooter, but he's somebody young enough to still grow with this team, who's still mature enough to bring that maturity to the locker room, the work ethic and consistency, and the shooting that is now in a complementary role instead of a lead role. They didn't need Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks anymore to be in lead role positions, which they were. They needed a Simone Fontecchio, and you're going to see Quentin Grimes soon enough play these roles. Roles that are going to enhance these young guys as they take center stage. I've been clamoring for Asar Thompson to get a start for a long time, and he finally has. Now you need more shooting around them. I understand you want to go big. Look, hey, you want to go with a double big lineup? I don't care. But moving these guys into center stage is exactly what we've been needing, we've been wanting, and it's here, and it looks good. This product looks good. And if they can continue to build that chemistry between Cade and Ivy and Jalen Duren, know how to close out games, you're going to be real excited post All-Star break. And I've been saying this. The post All-Star break Detroit Pistons are going to look like something you want to be cheering for every game. You're going to want to go and buy tickets because of what you see them building. Stop questioning Troy Weaver. Stop questioning Monty Williams. This product is exactly what we wanted. Just because you have some critiques about how we got here, we all do. We all do. But let's not forget to be thankful for when we actually get there. With that, I want to know what you all think about this game against the Clippers. What do you think about what I said? Hit that like button, subscribe, and the bell for notifications. And I'm going to get at y'all next time. Peace.